You are listening to an All Games Radio Network broadcast of AllGames.com. Welcome to the show.
You're about to listen to the Timey-Wimey Tea Time Podcast, a GeekyAntics.net and AllGames.com production. Find out what everyone's talking about. The Doctor, of course. Doctor Who? Exactly, that Doctor. Join us live at www.twitch.tv/GeekyAntics. That's GeekyAntics. Hang out with us, ask questions, laugh, and have at it. We can't wait to hear what's on your minds and hearts.
Timey-Wimey Tea Time.
Greetings and welcome to Timey-Wimey Tea Time, where friends gather to talk about all things Doctor Who, sci-fi, fantasy, zombies, creativity, and geekdom as a whole. And apparently in the chat, people are loving the amount of cheese. Cheesy? I guess cheesy and professional. I'll take that. Cheesy is what we do at Geeky Antics. We keep it fun and fresh. And no, Brimping, I didn't watch the prequel last night. I kind of want to go into the season premiere completely fresh. Yes, in the season premiere, we're talking about Series 9, Doctor Who, tonight. Not last night. Not last Saturday like I was thinking for some weird reason. But anyway, folks, before we get into all of that, some introductions. I'm Yoma Lopez, known throughout the interwebs, and sons of the Whoverse as Yogizilla. Friends IRL call me Yogi. For real, it's a true story. And as our old friend Stan Farina has been known to say, and hopefully he's actually coming back soon. I've been desperately begging him because I need someone reliable as a co-host, and you know it's hard to find a reliable co-host. Not that people aren't reliable; it's just stuff comes up. But people that are fully committed to the cause. So you know, Stan has always said I'm a gamer, that I'm a dreamer, an author of silliness, a disgruntled techie, very true, a wild-eyed entrepreneur, and a fistful of happy emojicons and sunshine. I ran into battle upon a glittering My Little Pony, and out of my mouth come laughing swords of peppermint and ginger. Above all, I think the most important thing to take away here is that I hope we can become friends as we embark upon a journey through time and space, the human condition, and merriment, and bantering. Lots of bantering. That's right, stupid life always getting in the way. So folks, you know, we've been waiting for about 2 months now for Fatal Blades, aka Ulan, to come back. I think I'm just going to call it. I don't think he's going to be coming back anytime soon. So what I would like to do on this show, I'm just going to get this out here at the top of the show, is just have rotating hosts, guest hosts. Subject matter, I think by now is pretty evident. We talk about Doctor Who. But not the only thing we talk about. We talk about fandoms as a whole, anime and TV shows and movies. We tend to stick to TV, and we lean more towards the sci-fi, but the fantasy is there too. We talk about The Walking Dead, you know, Fear the Walking Dead is going on right now, and of course video games, we're a Twitch show, so you'll have to sprinkle that in. And video games are always in our mind anyway, like on the Geeky Antics Network, here on The Gang. And what does The Gang stand for, if those are curious? Geeky Antics Network Global. But if you just look up Geeky Antics Network, will come up. Google us, check us out. You can see what we're all about and check out some of our other awesome shows like The Worst Radio Show or Sunday Dose, or Star Wars Rebels Cast, Gaming Death Podcast, Horseplay Live. We got quite a bit of stuff out there. But before I go off on some rants, just wanted to take care of those things, get those things out of the way. Let's examine our star map and see the places and things we hope to visit today during our timey-wimey tea time session here. Cause tea time's a great time to gather and just talk about things. And we have a very relaxed atmosphere here. And just a friendly reminder: we do keep this show G-rated, keep it clean. It's probably the only show that keeps it clean right now on the network. So tell your friends, bring your kids, we'll have a good old time. So in the first half of the show, we're gonna have Before We Go Deeper, where we'll do a little bit of housekeeping and do our, we've been doing this for a few months now. Our timey-wimey tea time, or TWTT for short, hashtag TWTT. Word of the day, which comes to us usually from dictionary.com, because it's easy and they always have good choices. We'll do Who's Who, talk about why we love Doctor Who so much, because that's important. That's gonna be, now that his show's coming back, we're gonna be talking more Who. Then we'll do Who Knew, some Whovian and geeky news, and we'll finally do the Writer's Nook segment that we were putting off. I'm going to talk briefly about some traps in writing, and why people are a little bit too much caught up on the wrong things. So the name of this segment, this particular Writer's Nook, this workshop, writer's panel, if you will, writer's workshop, if you prefer, is Your Grammar Are Wrong. And yes, I know that's probably making some grammar Nazis cringe. Second half of the show, we'll have our tea time topic. I was going to talk more about anime, but since Oolong's not here, we're just going to talk a little bit about fall TV and the shows we've been catching up on, and we'll get the chat involved in that as well. Then we'll have the gaming verse, and we'll talk about the slew of games coming up, and I'm going to share the main things I'm looking forward to. As many of you know, if you follow me, money is tight with all the things going on and supporting a family, so I have to be very selective with the games that I'm going to be getting. And like I said, I can probably count on one hand the games I'll be getting between now and March, April next year. Yeah, I think that's safe to say. As far as the big purchases, $65, that's how much the games run pretty much in the States after taxes. It's a lot of money. You figure you're spending almost $150 for 2 games. And not even counting the DLC and all the other stuff they had in there. So, yeah, you gotta be a little picky and choose the right game. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Then we'll have our community interconnect. No comments. I didn't see any comments on YouTube or on Twitter related to our show or the subject matter we mainly cover. So, make sure you tweet us and use the hashtag TWTT. Tweet at Geeky Antics or myself at Yogizilla. And leave us comments on YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/Geeky Antics, you can see all our videos. And we have a TWTT playlist on there as well, of course. And then we'll do our outro and shoutouts, and that'll be the show. I'm going to try to go a little longer than I did last Saturday. I feel like I went a little too short. But man, people have shorter attention spans, so maybe that's what people prefer. But I can tell you this: with Doctor Who back, we're gonna have a lot more to talk about. So if we could get 2 or 3 rotating guest hosts and get some discussions going about the show, I'm sure we'll definitely get close to that 2-hour mark, if not exceed it, and then I might have to do some edits. On that note, I think I'm going to start changing up the format a little bit and start doing call-ins. It's something I said wouldn't fit in the show because we want to keep it clean. But we might do call-ins. We might just do them. But the best thing to do, and I'm going to say this right now before we just go through all the spiels, the whole spiel. Can you make spiel plural? Probably not. So before we go through the whole spiel that we usually do here, before we go deeper, we have a voicemail line, 206-415-4987. Again, 206-415-4987. Leave us a voicemail. That's the best way to get involved in the show. if you can't join us live. And then we get to hear your beautiful voices. Excuse me, I'm a little gassy. I don't know if I came through the microphone. Hopefully not. But anyway, before we go deeper, let's get straight into the TWTT word of the day, which comes to us as usual from dictionary.com. And the word is crackerjack. Now there was a bunch of words that I was looking at, but I love this word, and I kind of look at one of my favorite things is kind of studying the etymology of words and how languages evolve. I mean, I don't study it really deep like a scholar, but I do some digging here and there. Man, there was a phrase the other day that actually when we had the folks from AM Audio Media on the show, we had Andrew Chalmers on. We were talking about take it with a grain of salt. Where does that phrase come from? Maybe we'll make a whole segment on that. Or what's another one that people use a lot? For all intents and purposes, where did that start off? Where was that first seen? Trying to think of, see, now they won't come to me when I'm on the spot. But I'm sure if you guys can think of some. That's something you could tweet. Yeah, maybe overuse idioms or adages or phrases that people use. And cause that, most times folks use these phrases and they have no appreciation for where they came from or the context of it. It's like a lot of insults that come out of words that people use now are offensive to some people that are familiar with the history of it, and some just throw it around, liberally, I don't know, the N-bomb, and certain words that begin with F. And that's the thing about language. It's all, to me, I think it's all context. The words by themselves, I don't think have power. It's all about context. Who you're speaking to, where that phrase or word comes out, the tone with which it's said, which is harder to convey in the written word. But anyway, the word is crackerjack. Let's get into that. So this is an informal word. In the noun form, it means a person or thing that shows marked ability or excellence. I don't know why I put the hesitation there. Because people say it's marked. I say marked. But I guess you could say marked. Man. But as an adjective, it means of marked ability or exceptionally fine. Here's a quote. We have room let me start again. We have room for one. Oh my gosh, I am not on my game today. We have room for but one verse, but it's a crackerjack, the gem of the collection, and illustrates how Ardenus can soar when he spreads his pinions and takes a header into the poetic empyrean. Whew! We finally made it through. It's from William Cowper Brand, the Iconoclast, a collection of the writings of W.C. Brand, 1898. Apparently, crackerjack is an Americanism that came to English in the late 1800s. So there you go, America. I don't know. I just like that one. There was another one that was. I would say it was a humdinger of a word. I think I'm gonna look it up because this one was really obscure. See, the thing about words, I think it's important to expand your arsenal, your vocabulary. I think it's important because sometimes some words have a better connotation for what you're trying to say, right? But then the bad side of language is when people use big words or advanced words that most people won't get, just to kind of be elitist about it, I'm not a fan of that. That makes me face palm a little bit. Man, they've had some really good ones on Word of the Day for Dictionary.com. Actually, yesterday, was it yesterday? I think this was yesterday's word. It was shibboleth or shibboleth. I think both are proper pronunciations, which is a noun that means a peculiarity of pronunciation, behavior, mode of dress, etc. It distinguishes a particular class or set of persons.
or a slogan or catchword. Man, that covers a wide array of things there. Quote, and using the quote, the latter air is indeed the shibboleth and diploma piece of Penny Whistler. I gotta read this again. I love this. I love old English type stuff. The latter air is indeed the shibboleth and diploma piece of the Penny Whistler. I hazard a guess. It was originally composed for this instrument. I hazard a guess. No one talks like this anymore. Wordsmithing like that. If you spoke like this, people think either you're, pretentious or, I don't know, just full of it. Sadly, that's kind of how it works out. Unfortunately, shibboleth entered English from. It did. I knew it had a kind of a Hebrew sound to it. It entered from the Hebrew and was a word used by the Gileadites, I believe how to say it, as a test to detect the fleeing Ephraimites who could not pronounce the sh sound. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Now, another fun fact about the English language, a lot of words come from Greek and Latin roots. But the English language really is like a mishmash of a lot of different languages. Especially here in America, we've borrowed so much from, we're multi-pot culture. We've just kind of assimilated other languages. Kind of interesting. If you know some root words, some origins, how to conjugate things, you start seeing patterns. It's pretty fun. Water. I have a dry throat right now. All right, so don't forget, folks, we are live on allgames.com right now, and we're also live on twitch.tv/Geeky Antics, and that's every other Saturday at noon Eastern, 5 p.m. London, and 4 p.m. in Madrid. And actually, our next show, I'm looking ahead here, is going to be in October 3rd. All right. And on that show, we're going to be covering, we'll probably cover the 2 episodes. One episode comes today. Then an episode will come the week after of Doctor Who. And the prequel that Brent Pig was talking about. Probably should have checked that out yesterday. There's been so much going on. And last night I was also doing Retro Friday too, which I would recommend if you like gaming. Maybe a little biased since I usually do the streaming for Retro Friday. But anyway, and if you missed the live show, you can tune into YouTube, and I'm pretty good about trying to get those videos out the same day, at least for this show. But now we usually get them out within 2 to 3 days. I try not to be too regimented about the schedule for getting the content up, because things happen. But if you missed it, you go to youtube.com/Geeky Antics. You can also search Twitter for hashtag TWTT and join the conversation that way. What else do we have? Before we go deeper? And again, just recap. We would love to see more comments from you on YouTube. If you want to go straight to our YouTube playlist for TWTT, it's bit.ly/TWTT playlist. But the TWTT is an uppercase. I probably should have made that all lowercase because mixed case throws people off. But yeah, bit.ly/ and it's all uppercase TWTT and then lowercase for the rest of this playlist, TWTT playlist. And voicemail line again, 206-415-4987. If you're calling outside the states, it's 011-206-415-4987. You don't have to leave something super long. In fact, 30 seconds is probably the ideal. High end, maybe 1 minute. That way we can play it and then respond to it live on air. Oh yeah, we're going deeper, boys. Going to Paris. Let's say Periscope depth, but that's going higher. We're going to I don't know, 20 leagues under the sea. There you go. Not 40 leagues. Not 40 leagues yet. 20 leagues for now. So who's who? This is why we love Doctor Who. And yes, we are still a Doctor Who fan cast, and Who You Fun is a big part of Tea Time right here at Time Away with Tea Time. So if you have any classic Doctor Who episodes
or news items you'd like us to cover, or anything related to Doctor Who, definitely email or tweet us, and we'll talk more about Doctor Who. If not, we'll have other stuff in there. Not filler. There's quality. There's a lot of quality there, but we like to have we become more of a variety show. I think it's really hard to have a niche show and just focus on one thing specifically. That's why I kind of like one podcast I highly recommend is Staggering Stories. I love their banter, and they also do news headlines, but they're very witty. I love the way they deliver everything, and it helps that they have British accents. It gives them credibility, and it makes them pleasant to my ears. Candy for your ears. There you go. But yeah, email us. twtt@geekyantics.net. And you can tweet us at geekyantics or use hashtag TWT. So why do we always come back to Doctor Who? What makes it so special? This is our little spiel here. So if this is your first encounter with Doctor Who, here's a brief intro. Doctor Who is about a alien man, who travels all of time and space in a handy blue box called a TARDIS. It's a spaceship, it's a time machine, and it's bigger on the inside. Oh yeah. It also translates all languages and functions as a sort of IV unit, but that's jumping ahead. It's a pretty useful thing. It's handy dandy for sure. The Doctor Who universe now, it spans well over 50 years now of content. That's 50 plus years of content. That's crazy. And this includes TV shows, movies, audiobooks, comics, puppet shows, video games even. The series has had some serious heavy hitters writing for it. Douglas Adams comes to mind, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and Neil Gaiman. One of my favorite things Neil Gaiman has done is Mirror Mask, and he just does some very interesting things. I think Neil Gaiman is what Tim Burton used to be, but Tim Burton always kind of does like dark, goth-like kind of things. I think Neil Gaiman has a little more of a broader sense of creativity, if that makes sense. Now, we've heard some blurb from folks in the community that listens to our other shows or watch our streams or whatever, or hang on the forums on geekants.net, even people on All Games, and they say Doctor Who is silly nonsense. And silly is definitely true, but the latter not so much. There's actually, all right. So there are some. I'm not gonna make apologies for this show. There are some continuity issues, and there are some plot holes. But I mean, what else could you expect when you're keeping something running in over 50 years? And it's been lots of people with their hands in the pot. It hasn't been like one consistent showrunner or writer, orchestrating everything. So that's challenging. But I think the point of the show, with and really, this might apply to all works of fiction. Really, is you gotta suspend your disbelief and just have fun with it. Especially with Doctor Who, it's an adventure, I think, first and foremost. And then there's also layers of meaning beneath it. But if you just enjoy it on the surface, it's so much fun. I mean, I would kind of equate it to Pirates of the Caribbean, but with more substance and more plot there. So it's a fun romp, but then there's also underlying themes, there's an underlying story arc, and then you can also enjoy it episodically. It's great. It's a nice mixed bag of treats. I love it. I'm a little biased, I know, but that's my spiel. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. So we welcome you to get lost with us in the magical sci-fi Whoverse. It's a great time. Now, some quick Whovian and geeky news here, and who knew? So who knew? Castle Crashers is back. Castle Crashers Remastered. Apparently, I just found this out today listening to the Major Nelson podcast. I didn't notice it. It's free for Xbox One people that already own it on 360. So be sure to snatch that up. Games with Go, they have Tomb Raider Definitive Edition on Xbox One and Crysis 3 on 360. And both are excellent games. I really want to try out the multiplayer on Tomb Raider. No one ever talks about it, and everybody talks about how great the single player is, but it doesn't appeal to me because, one, it reminds me too much of Far Cry, which I enjoyed, but I don't want to play Far Cry again, not right now. And 2, I kind of prefer classic, Tomb Raider gameplay. The original, I think, to me, is still one of the best, if not the best. And 3, I'm more of a multiplayer gamer. There you go. Hey, there you go, BFT. You own it on 360. You gotta set it up now if you want an Xbox One for free. You should be able to do it through XboxLive.com and purchase it, quote unquote, through there, and then I'll add it to your account, because you don't have to have an Xbox One to take advantage of the games with gold, and I think that also applies with the free games. So yeah, it should work. Yeah, I don't see why not. In fact, I should probably do that myself. Open up XboxLive.com, so I remember as soon as I get off the show, I just jump right there. Or maybe I could do it. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to multitask. It's probably not going to work out very well. Let's see. We're gonna check it out right now. Let's see if we can do it right now. So let's see, games. Let's see if we're trying to look here. It might not let me do it. Let me see if it shows on the. It says free to play, featured add-ons, games with gold, action and adventure. I don't see why it won't work. Let me see. So we'll search here. Castle Crashers Remastered. This is good radio right here. This is why I need a co-host, so I could multitask. Oh, it's saying $14.99. So the deal might be off. See, I don't know if I'd buy. I love Castle Crashers, but I don't know if I'd rebuy it. Oh no, it's free. I pulled it up and it's $0 for Xbox One. So spread the word, folks. Maybe I should need to get the episode up as soon as possible, because if not, people might miss out on that. Oh, you don't have Xbox Live Gold? You can renew it. Take advantage of that. Why the heck not? Free is free. So there you have it, folks. And so yeah, if you have an Xbox, if you have a 360, you have an active Xbox Live account. Why not take advantage of the games with gold and things they set up for free? They sneak in some games in there. For free sometimes. You gotta keep an eye out for that. Cool. That was pretty easy. Okay. You can still get it for free? Man, if it works, it works. So there you go. Good deal. I gotta remember to get Crysis 3. Yeah, I have Crysis 2, but Crysis 3 is free right now for 360 with games with gold. I'm gonna snatch it up. Crysis is a good series. I think it's very underrated. What are you doing? Oh, no, Blue's doing something. What are you doing? She's getting into something. She's being a ninja though. So yeah, folks, don't forget September 30th is International Podcast Day. Use hashtag Podcast Day to talk about podcasting, and the folks running that have been retweeting that stuff. So we're gonna start sharing more stuff with the Podcast Day hashtag. I gotta start doing that more, putting that in the titles and whatnot. Maybe for next, actually, in Horseplay Live. We get very a little raunchy, a little crazy, but we've been doing a podcast and streaming series, little mini workshops amidst all the rants and raves. So I think the next episode we'll get deep into the shop talk, and we'll try to do call-ins as well. It's hard to do both, to be structured and also have call-ins, because we derail ourselves, and then we can do call-ins, and then it gets even crazier. But stay tuned for that. And keep in mind, it is not safe for work. Kids are not recommended to tune in. Mature audiences only. So yeah, for International Podcast Days, go to internationalpodcastday.com. And we're going to be doing a lot of we'll probably end up doing it through October too. But we're gonna be doing more content dedicated to content creation and marketing. Content marketing is a thing. Podcasting, streaming, writing, that's important. Branding, all kinds of stuff. All the stuff that's involved with that. All those tangent topics. They have some useful resources there, so make sure you check it out. They also give you a little bit of a history of how podcasting came about. They have a little quiz too, so it's pretty cool site. What else do we have? Oh, Rainbow Six Siege coming out now December 1st, and the closed beta that's coming up. There's priority access to people that pre-ordered and people who registered through the Xbox One dashboard. So I don't know if it works if you're already registered. I haven't tried. I keep forgetting to do it on the Xbox One. But if you register through the dashboard, I think they say it's guaranteed access. So we'll see. What else do we have? Yeah, that's about it. Now I'll take another sip of my water. So now let's do our writer's nook. Your grammar are wrong. Now people get all crazy about grammar. There's certain things that bother me, but I don't get to the point of correcting people when it's common mistakes. When it's a mistake that you really should know better, then I'm like, all right. Like when you mix up, the forms of there, over there, or that's their toy, or your thing as possessive. This is your money, this is your house, this is your show, versus you're going to regret that. People use those wrong all the time, and it drives me batty. I mean, grown folks should not be making that mistake. Oh, sweet. So apparently you don't need an active Xbox Live Gold. All you need is proof that you Oh yeah, that makes sense actually, because the Castle Crashers Remastered, all it's looking for is that you purchased the game before. Nice. That makes sense. So, I decided to bring back the Writer's Nook and talk about grammar in particular because a few shows back, we discovered, an interesting article about, how the grammar rules that people adhere to are probably fake. This is from daily.jstor.org. Some of these websites are not very, how can I say, marketable. Because that's I'll put the link in the chat though, if you want to check it out. And basically, I'll read a quote from the article. There's a lot of good nuggets there, but here's to give you some context about what the article was about. It kind of got me thinking about all this. All right, so the writer goes, and let me make sure. Here we go. So the article is titled "Dear Pendants." Did he misspell pendant wrong? Or is pedant? Is pedant a thing? Yeah, now I'm curious. Maybe I'm in the wrong, or was that a deliberate thing? Oh yeah, it is a thing. Just wanted to make sure. Yeah. So a pedant is a person who is excessively concerned with minor details of rules, or with displaying academic learning. Oh yeah. That's a good word. That's a good word right there. Not one that I hear too often. Yeah, I was making sure it wasn't a typo. So dear pedants, your fave grammar rule is probably fake. So that's the way the article opens up. Good headline right there. So this is one of the quotes from here. Hey, welcome back, Bird Pig. He goes, "These are the modern truths about." Oh yeah, that's right. I wanted to read who wrote it. Who was the author? Chi Lu. There you go. These are the modern truths about language. Language changes constantly. Change is normal. Spoken language is the language. Correctness rests upon usage. All usage is relative. It's almost a science fiction kind of rule there, right? time is relative. Ultimately, native speakers are the ones who decide what is standard language, based on their own accepted use. There are conventional styles and discourse registers that are appropriate in some contexts and not others. Most people have a linguistic hobby horse or two. I have a whole stable of them myself. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that as long as we acknowledge that often these conventions are subjective and not forever fixed universal rules of language that define a person's intelligence. In the same way, you may also find skinny jeans problematic as an item of fashion, but plenty of people are still definitely wearing them as pants. I think that's what really hit home for me, because I was like, skinny jeans, I can't stand when my kids wear them. This should not be a thing, especially for boys. For girls, okay, but for boys, it's just like you're crushing your innards. But hey, I mean, I guess this is how I know I'm getting old, becoming a bit of a curmudgeon. So this is a really great, paragraph here, and basically what the author's saying is that colloquialisms are perfectly acceptable because that's why they're colloquialism, because they're things that have become part of vernacular and acceptable usage. But again, the context is important. You don't want to write like a third grader if you're talking to a mature audience, an intelligent audience. As an author, you probably want to respect certain conventions and certain standards for writing. But I've actually seen a trend where even published authors I've seen are terrible writers, and even with the copy editor, actually the funny thing is most authors that I know of, at least ones that I know personally, can't write worth crap as far as like the semantics and structure and everything, but when it comes to putting together a narrative, they're great. But they break so many. There's typos, there's grammar issues, and it's a hot mess. Let's just say that. That's why there's editors, right? The editors do the heavy lifting there. And imagine going through a book that's 1,000 plus pages. Whew. It pays well, but whew, I don't think I'd want that job. I've done it before, actually. It's a living, but to do that every day, okay. I don't know about that. So that people like the pedant, the pet, I can't even say it now. The pedants, the grammar Nazis, as people refer to them, the grammar police, to be less offensive. They're the ones that like to constantly crucify you if you make a mistake or you mispronounce a word. No one's perfect, and again, like I said it before, there's a bad use of intelligence where you just kind of become condescending and deconstructive instead of constructive. If you're intelligent, that's great. Use it to do good things. Don't use it to make people feel like idiots. Now if someone commits a big mistake, language-wise, then that's, you probably want to bring it up. Like if someone's a writer, or they're telling themselves as a writer or a marketer, and their profile has the wrong version of it, you probably want to call that out. Cause that's a big one. That one makes me cringe even. So this is a little mini writing workshop. And I'm gonna share a couple more links here. We got Grammarphobia is a good resource that I think is nice for learning some things about the language, appreciating the language more. And then there's also OxfordDictionaries.com. They had one article in particular, grammar myths you learned in school. And let me pull these up and I have them fresh in my mind. That headline right there, grammar myths you learned in school, and they share 7 of them. That's the big one too, because teachers, and I'm gonna blow up a lot of spots here. Teachers do not know everything. That's something people take for granted. You think, oh well, this person's a teacher, so they wouldn't be wrong about something. Teachers are often wrong, actually, and I think a lot of the habits that come out of writing come from teachers that are very adamant, and they say, "Oh, this is a hard and fast rule. This is a universal rule. If you don't do this, that's it. You're an idiot." I mean, I remember having English or lit teachers, that would give you like a automatic failure if you like didn't do certain things. You had to from silly things like formatting. Like one of the things we had to do was double space, right? And then it was actually no. It was double space, or it was 1.5 space, because it's a little different. And then it was indent for the paragraph start, and two spaces after period. I still follow that rule, and I follow it mainly because I think it makes it easier to read text rather than squishing all the text together. So I always put 2 spaces after period. But a lot of people don't follow the rule. I always thought it was a universal thing, and apparently that was just one of the things that stuck with me from my youth. So what do we got? These are really good. Let's start with the 7 grammar myths you learned in school. So number 1 they have here is you can't end a sentence with a preposition. Well, apparently you can. So they say here, most of us learned in school that ending a sentence with a preposition was a mistake. This rule, however, is misguided, dating from the 17th century, when several notable writers tried to codify English to fit more neatly with Latin grammar. So clearly there's instances where attempting to avoid ending a sentence in a preposition results in a statement that is either over formal or simply poor English. An over formal example might be, he told her that there was nothing of which to be frightened. An example of poor English, or Yoda English, I love this, or English as we like to call it, might be, paid for the house had not been. Yeah. That's not very good. Yoda English, paid for the house had not been. That's a terrible Yoda. I don't know what I was trying to go for. Pay for I can't do it. My throat's too scratchy. I was just Schmiegel said, process. There we go. And here's another one. You can't start a sentence with a conjunction. So that's another myth. Conjunction. Junction, what's your function? Conjunction is basically a word that puts together 2 phrases or clauses, such as and, but, so, and if. Yeah, they say right here, they're used to connect clauses, sentences, or words. So you can start a sentence with a conjunction. That was a huge one for me in school. I remember a teacher would cringe if you say and at the beginning of the sentence. There's places for it. But there's place for that. Or so, if you want to have a more casual tone, starting with so is fine. I do so, comma, and start off a sentence that way. Yeah. I do what I want. Teacher, you were wrong. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, teachers from my wonderful schools of past, but you're wrong. I think teachers I've done teaching before. I've done tutoring before. I think it's important to always speak in a manner where you're as authentic as possible. Like, don't say, this is a universal truth, or this is the only truth in the world. This is the law. But say, this is a good practice. That's cool. That's fine. But some teachers are way too hardcore about things. Here's another one. Double negatives are always ungrammatical. So that's a myth. Therefore, double negatives are not always ungrammatical. That's the truth. So they say here, when 2 negatives are used to communicate a negative, then the usage is ungrammatical. The reason for this is that 2 negatives actually cancel each other out and create an affirmative statement. For example, the sentence "I don't have nothing for you" is ungrammatical because the presence of 2 negatives technically switches the meaning to an affirmative one. So that means "I have something for you." Even though the use of double negatives in formal speech and writing is non-standard, the use of double negatives is common in areas such as informal speech and popular music. Ain't no sunshine, yeah. Yep. What else do we have? However, there is one use of double negatives that is entirely grammatical, and in this use, the double negative is used to express and reinforce an affirmative by way of denial or understatement. For example, take this sentence: I couldn't not help him, meaning I strongly felt I should help him. There you go. Yeah, that's a good use of it. Yeah, double negative is another one that the sticklers would always get you. You know, those darn pedants. That pedants that'll get you. That word does not roll off my tongue very easily for some reason. Yeah, but some people are just crazy about that. That's a big one I think many of us have dealt with. Splitting infinitives is a mistake. Those split the infinitive. For uninitiated, splitting infinitives is the practice of placing an adverb between to and the corresponding verb, as in to lightly tap. Splitting infinitives is a common peeve of grammar enthusiasts, but like many such peeves, it has been employed by well-regarded English prose stylists for centuries. However, take care before splitting those infinitives. Many style guides and professors would still consider this a stylistic error. These two sentences display split infinitives. So they have, she used to secretly admire him, and then they have, you have to really watch him. See the difference there in what it conveys? Those who believe that split infinitives are grammatically incorrect could rewrite these sentences as, she used secretly to admire him. You really have to watch him. Avoiding splitting infinitives can change the emphasis of what's being said. That's true. These sentences don't have quite the same meaning. You really have to watch him, i.e., it's important that you watch him. You have to really watch him. You have to watch him very closely. See? Placement of words can change everything completely. So that's a little bit on splitting infinitives. Here's a big one that people get mad about. You can't start a sentence with hopefully. You absolutely can. This is what they're saying here. And this is oxforddictionary.com, by the way, so you can read the full thing. This use of hopefully to mean it is hope, rather than the adverbial in a hopeful manner, has been disputed in the past several years, though it has found its way into general acceptance. There you go. All right, two more and then we'll wrap this up. I know people are like, wait, I don't want to go to school. What is this? We try to be a little clever here and there. Ooh, the passive voice should not be used. Now, that's a tough one. I've toiled with this a bit myself, because as a writer you have a challenge, on how, whether you transitional phases or if you're transitive, intransitive, you're passive, active, there's so many little nuances, and then you gotta kind of stick to that form throughout a whole book or story. The perspective. Are you first person? Are you third person omniscient? I think third person omniscient is the easiest to write as, but not necessarily the way you have to write. But if you pick first person, you're telling it from the perspective of the person that experienced certain events. They can only tell what they saw firsthand, or at least what they heard of. So it's tricky. That's going down a whole other rabbit hole. So the myth is that your passive voice should not be used, and some people are really hardcore about this. They'll say passive voice should never be used, but it exists in the language for a reason. So this is what they say about this here in Oxford Dictionaries. Even though your teacher warned you against it, the passive voice is perfectly acceptable. The passive tends to be used in formal documents such as official reports or scientific papers, often where an action or situation is regarded as more significant than who or what did or caused it. Active would be Spain beat Brazil in the final match. Passive, Brazil was beaten in the final. Now you could also put a prepositional phrase in there. Brazil was beaten by Spain in the final, and that would still work. But see how it changes it. The active voice is more like oomph, and the passive voice is more like, all right, just chill. So they're saying, for example, in the above active example, the victor and loser of the match are made perfectly clear by the active structure. Spain, the subject of the sentence, beat Brazil, the object of the sentence, in the match. In the passive example, the information about Spain is missing, thus the agent of Brazil's loss remains unclear. What is most important is the outcome of the game, not the winner. Booyah. However, even though the use of passive voice is perfectly permissible, most people favor the active voice because of how it provides a fuller account. And there you go. And the last thing they said that was a grammar myth that we learned in school. You cannot use whose to refer to things. And whose, W-H-O-S-E. Yes, you can't use whose to refer to things. Not only people or groups of people. Sometimes sticklers will insist that rearranging the sentence using of which. The below is an example sentence on OxfordDictionary.com using whose. Gasping for breath, they reached a row of houses whose gardens led onto the park. This is the same sentence rewritten to accommodate of which. Gasping of breath, they reached a row of houses, the gardens of which led onto the park. The rewritten version using of which is clearly awkward and unwieldy. The better option here is to simply use whose instead. There you go. Booyah. So if you ever had someone be all hoity-toity about their language skills, you can point them to these resources or point them to our podcast, Time Tea Time, episode 35. Booyah. Let them know what's up. Word. I know I keep saying booyah. I think I've watched too much Teen Titans with the kids. That's probably what it is. So we're on to the second half here. I hope you enjoyed the writer's workshop. If you would like to see more of that, be more educated or something. I have some cereal here right now. And it's really soggy now. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be like oatmeal. Just thought I'd share that. But yeah, if you like the learning stuff, we'll do that more. I want to do writers panels, have some authors join us, like Morgana Freya, Brandy Kings, 1982, who also happen to be streamers, which is why they use those avatars. I write myself. I haven't been doing as much. Like I do ghostwriting, I do copy editing. Of course, I write for GeekyAnts.net. Do guest articles at other places too, columns and whatnot, but. I'm not doing that much writing lately. I need to get back into it. But we could do a little writer's panel. That'll be what the Writer's Nook is. A little forum for that aspect of creativity. But we were going to talk about, for our tea time topic, we were going to talk... we were going to talk about anime. But we're just going to jump into TV talk. And... let's see, with fall TV seasons coming, right? Some have already gotten the jump on the season. Because to me, I think fall officially starts when Labor Day. After Labor Day, right? That's the supposed last day of summer. But see, I'm here in Georgia, so for us, summer takes on a whole different meaning. We don't really consider it fall until the leaves start falling, and that doesn't happen until much later. Even sometimes even by Thanksgiving, the leaves aren't falling down. Now, oak trees are amongst the first that have their leaves fall. A little fun fact there. Another thing I'm curious about. I rarely hear people say autumn. Most people say fall, but autumn does sound nice and fancy, you know. And by the way, if you're watching the video, you're probably seeing Alistair Kennedy, who still needs to join me on this show. He was one of the reasons I started this show when I did. He still hasn't been on the show. I need to just start harassing him more. Or find a different time to record. He's about to get married, so I think he's trying to be accommodating to his future wife. I get it. It's hard. You gotta make time for the loved ones. I'm gonna change one of the links here for our sponsors. Today we're featuring the Weddings link, which is a Shiny Prince production, and Martin Septic. So make sure you check out those links. I'll plug them again at the end of the show. We have a segment for the shameless plugs there. So, TV talk. I finally had a chance to finish Falling Skies, and my co-host over at Horseplay Live, you may know him, Obi-Wan X2. He was like really down on the season finale, the series finale, and he said, "Oh, it was terrible. It's bad." I was expecting a real train wreck, and actually, this show out of all the shows that I've been catching up on for the past few months, I think it had the most satisfying ending. And let me say, I gotta say, TNT, they are doing some big things. They're doing some big things because they have The Last Ship, which I really enjoyed as well, and that's coming back. Falling Skies is done, but they have some other shows coming to TNT. They're up and coming. I think TNT might overtake USA Network, because USA was pretty big when they had Burn Notice and White Collar. I think White Collar finally wrapped up, didn't it? What else did they have? Monk, that's done. Psych, I'm pretty sure is done. That's a pretty big show. They've had a lot of great shows. There's another USA show that I'm missing, I'm sure. They have new shows now, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. Oh, Mr. Robot, that's a good one. That's a really good one. That I've really enjoyed. So thanks to Oolong for getting me into that. You know, that's probably one of the few fictional works that I could think of that actually conveys hacking in a realistic manner, to the point where it's actually scary because someone watches it and they pay attention, they might learn too many things and, you know, use their powers for evil. I remember when hackers were just curious people, you know, started kind of with the phone phreaking, you know, hacking to analog phone systems. And then people started, you know, most systems were analog for a while, and then everything started going digital, and then hacking became a big thing, and you know, you'd read the 2600 and go out to all these bulletin board systems and on IRC and, you know, darknet and all this stuff. But you know, most hackers were pretty just curious. Now you got the script kiddies that learn enough to be dangerous, but not enough to be useful to society, and just full of angst. It's like, well, let's just DDoS this person because we can. I like Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot kind of makes me think of Dexter, but if Dexter was a hacker. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like he's kind of the bad guy, but he's doing bad things for good. So it's like that gray area. It's like, well, does the end justify the means? You know, it's like that's always an ongoing debate, the morality debacle, if you will. And I don't know. I like Mr. Robot. He's socially awkward. I can relate to him in some ways. Kind of reminds me of my youth. I used to be big into the hacking and the tech stuff. Now it's like, as I get older, I'm kind of like, I don't have time for that. It feels like it's a young person's game. I noticed that, especially if you're kind of an outcast or socially awkward or ostracized somehow. So we mentioned Falling Skies, we mentioned The Last Ship, Mr. Robot, kind of touched upon that. All great shows. Continuum is one that I'm still undecided on. To me, Continuum is like really, really good. And let me say, the TNT shows have high production value, and sci-fi shows have been coming up in production value too. And Continuum is a sci-fi show. By the way, where is Lost Girl? It's lost. I don't know. I don't think it's coming back. There's supposed to be 5 more seasons, 5 more episodes coming out to wrap it up. We'll see when that happens. We'll try to keep you posted on that. But Continuum, I like it. I think it's one of those shows where you could get into it and pick it up and watch it whenever you feel like it. It's kind of like NCIS, Criminal Minds, or CSI. Like I enjoy those shows, but it's not like I feel compelled to like keep watching it to see what happens next, because they're very episodic. Continuum feels like that. It's basically like a crime drama, but with heavy sci-fi influence in there, because there's that whole time travel thing and all the rebellion and all this stuff. I'm starting again from the beginning because I got about a season in, and it didn't. Actually, I got maybe half a season in, to be honest, and it didn't really resonate with me. I think I just had too much going on, so I'm gonna start it from the beginning, give it a fair shot, because it's starting its 4th season on Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi kills off shows quickly, so it's got to be doing well rating wise. I don't know if it's because it has a female lead or if they're having a good time slot. Who knows? Because sometimes that's a big part of it is when they're slotted and little silly things like that, rather than, well, is it a good story? That's what it should be about, right? But it is not always what it's about. So continuing with 1, let me know if you guys are watching it. Let me know if you think it's worth it. I've heard people compare it a little bit to Too Human. Not Too Human, Almost Human. Wow, Too Human is a video game, which I actually quite enjoy. Almost Human was a great show. I like that a lot. But unfortunately, that got canceled. And I think that's what it was. I was watching